Welcome to the world of probiotic foods. This is Cultured Food Life with your host, Donna Schwenk.
Welcome, everybody, and thanks for joining me. And I'm going to talk about how to get started with cultured foods today because I get a lot of emails about this. People become very interested in eating cultured foods, but they feel a little bit overwhelmed. And it's really interesting because cultured foods are not hard. They're just new. They're probably something most people have never even considered not only eating, but making. And so it kind of can be overwhelming to people because they don't know where to start. They think it's hard. And I promise you, it's not hard. It's just something that you're learning for the first time. So it can literally, some of these can take like 5 minutes, less than 5 minutes to make. And I've been doing this a very, very long time, over 20 years. And I worked out all the kinks. I've got rid of all the crazy and intense stuff that other people tell you, like, people come up with all kinds of stuff, guys. It makes me crazy. Okay, there was a time back about 10 years ago where people said, you can't make cultured vegetables without airlocks because you're going to get sick if you do, which is ridiculous. Now, they were selling airlocks, and I sell airlocks too, but I've never told everybody that they need to only buy airlocks because that's just ridiculous because you can make them just in a jar with a lid. You can do with whey, you can do it with salt, you can do it with a culture. That's my preferred method because it makes them stronger. But I'm not going to tell you anything that I don't do or that I don't believe in. Here's the thing, guys. I want you to make these foods and get well. Because when you get well, you make everything better. Everybody around you gets better. Everybody that's in your field of influence is going to be affected by the fact that you feel better. And I have seen that in my own life. And I have seen that in all the people that I help. When you feel good, you do good. That's just the way that it works. And, I'm really good at helping people understand these foods. And here's the deal. I've got everything free on my site. You can go to my website at culturedfoodlife.com and see the little smiley pot that says start here. Click that and I have all the cultured foods up there that you can make. And I do everything I can to help you with videos and blogs and articles and recipes to make it easy for you. But when I first got started, I really didn't know much about cultured foods. And the first thing I started with was kefir. And I read about it in a book, and actually 2 books. I found it in 2 books, thought it was interesting. And I remember I was in a health food store, and the store employee was walking by. I was looking at these 2 books. And both of them had miraculously opened to a page on kefir. When I opened them, both of them turned to that page in 2 separate books. One was Nourishing Traditions by Sally Fallon. The other was Body Ecology by Donna Gates. And I was so curious that 2 books would open to a page that I had never heard about in each book separately when I put it in my lap. And then a store employee came by and stood in front of me and said, that's the most important book you'll ever read. You should really pay attention. And so when he said that to me, I was like, okay, I'm going to go get this stuff, whatever it is, this kefir stuff. And I started drinking it, and then I very quickly started to make it. And the changes in my life were so profound. And I really just started with kefir. I didn't do anything else. And I just had some every day in a smoothie or a smoothie bowl. I gave some to my daughter, and it was dramatic what happened to me in 3 weeks. And that was the beginning for me. And it was all that I did. It was just, it took me a couple minutes to make a smoothie. I would throw kefir with some frozen fruit in a blender with, I don't even know what I used back then. It was so long ago. I might have used like stevia or something to sweeten it a little bit, but I don't even remember now. But I did that, and it was just profound. And it made me well in so many ways, and it made my family well in so many ways that I never turned back because I never wanted to miss that feeling. So if you are feeling, now kefir has the most probiotics in it. So that's 1+ for kefir. It has 50+, which is the most of any cultured food. But usually what happens, and this is what I find with people, is something will catch their eye and interest them. Something sounds good, or they're seeing it pop up in their news feeds on social media, whether it's kombucha, cultured vegetables like krauts and kimchis, bubbly fruit flavored kombuchas, water kefir, or kefir sodas, or yogurts, or, there's all different kinds of cultured foods. But one will be kind of in the forefront of your mind. And that's the one you should start with because it's calling you and it's showing up in your life for a reason. And if it interests you and it's kind of something that you're noticing, you should start that. And you can go to my website and I teach you how to do it all for free. You don't have to sign up or anything. And I have the cultures you can buy to make it, or you can get it from other places. You can get them if your friend has a culture. These foods are cool because the cultures grow and multiply, and then you can share them with your friends. So that makes it really easy and sustainable to make these foods. Much cheaper than probiotic supplements, which often don't work very well anyway. But I encourage you to pick the one that most interests you. Now, if you don't have one that most interests you, I would recommend kefir because it has the most probiotics, and it's probably the easiest to make of them all. And it has the most staying power. It can last in your fridge for many, many months. There's two methods for making it. I have kefir grains, which are living organisms. They're combinations of bacteria and yeast, and they will last forever if you take care of them and feed them properly. And I also have a powder package that's made from kefir grains that's flash frozen. You won't get grains out of it, but it's actually very, very easy to make because each batch will make another batch. So it's very sustainable. I've made so many batches of kefir off of one package. I can't even count. And it just keeps going and going. And basically you're just putting the culture in a jar with milk, and you can do it with non-dairy or you can do it with regular milk. And then you let it culture for 24 hours and the next day you have kefir. And the powder packages, then you just take a portion of that and make another jar. Like you take like 1/8 of a cup or 1/4 of a cup, put it in another quart with milk, and it'll remake. And if you have kefir grains, you just remove the grains and then put them in new milk and make another batch. It's pretty easy. And it makes one of the most powerful drinks I've ever had. That's why I continue to drink it. Now, kombucha probably takes a little bit longer to make. It takes like a week to 10 days, but it all depends on the temperature in your home, how warm your house is, and how strong your starter tea is. And if you usually get a SCOBY with it too. And you basically just take tea bags and sugar, and don't freak out that you're putting sugar in it because the sugar is not for you. It's for the culture because it eats the sugar and makes it tart tasting. That's why it's tart tasting, because it's fermenting it. And you put it in a crock or a glass jar with a cloth and a rubber band, and you let it ferment for about a week. Many people get brew belts or things if their home is cold because it doesn't like to be cold. It likes about 75 to 80 degrees. So brew belt keeps it at an even temperature, and then you make it the same time every week. So it's kind of fun. And then you bottle it and put it in your fridge. It'll last many, many months. And cultured vegetables are super easy, guys. You just take your vegetables, and krauts work really good. Or if you want to make kimchi or pickles, and you just stick them in a jar. You cover them with water. You put the proper amount of salt in, and I have that on all my recipes. And you can add a culture, which preserves them and makes the probiotics stronger. Or you can use kefir whey, which is the whey drained off of your kefir, where you make kefir cheese and you get some whey in the bottom. And you use that whey to culture it. Or you can use just salt, but you need to use the right amount of salt so you drop the pH. So that sounds complicated. It's super simple. It really isn't hard. I give you all the methods on my website. I prefer the one with the culture because it makes the probiotics stronger and makes them last longer and crisper in the fridge. But I've made them the other ways too, and it's great. So, and you just really need a jar with a lid for that. You can buy airlock lids, but you don't have to. It still works good to have a jar to just make sure the lid is secure. And I've got FAQs on all these, by the way, on every single cultured food that I make. And so if you have questions, they're mostly addressed on there. And if not, you can send me an email. But we put that, you just stick that jar on your counter. And now if you're making kraut, it's going to be 26 days. If you're making things like tomatoes or green beans or pickles, it's like 3 days. So people make that mistake a lot. They overculture the other vegetables that aren't cabbage for 6 days, and then they get super mushy. So don't do that. And also another thing to note, salt makes your vegetables crunchy, so don't leave the salt out. It's just the easiest thing is to follow a recipe that I have, and I have hundreds of them that you can follow that will really help you to make that. I have water kefir, which is, they're little crystals. That are similar to milk kefir grains, but they're clear and translucent. You can make water kefir. It's made similarly to, it only takes 2 to 3 days to make it, but then you second ferment it if you want a flavor. I also have kefir soda, which you make with a powder package, and you just stick that in a jar with water and juice, and in a few days you have kefir bubbly, really bubbly kefir soda. I'm just listing all this. This sounds like a lot, doesn't it? It's really not. That's why I tell you just to pick one, so you won't feel overwhelmed. Just pick one and master that. And then when you're ready, you'll go on to the next. I also have 2 new yogurts out. For a long time, I've been wanting to have something with bifidobacterium in it because kefir doesn't have that, and that's one of the most important bacterias. And so we designed a yogurt that had that in there. And then the other strain of yogurt we designed, actually they designed this. I didn't come up with this. They did. It's called L. reuteri, which is a fantastic species that is missing in 96% of the population. If you've had an antibiotic, you've probably killed it, but it's a very, very important strain because of the way that it lives in the upper gastrointestinal area, which normally bacteria resides in the colon. And it does things that first of all, I didn't really believe the hype. I did a blog and a podcast on this, and I interviewed Dr. Davis, who wrote the book Supergut. And he talked about how that, and there was a lot of studies, because I went and looked them up, about how L. reuteri, which is, you can't really get that species anywhere. It's hard to get. It doesn't work very good in supplementation through probiotics capsules. And it makes oxytocin in the brain. And I was like, okay, I'm not sure I believe this. They call it the love hormone, which creates empathy, compassion, and love, and all that stuff. And at first I thought it might be hype. I wasn't sure, but whatever. So I started making it. It's a little bit more of a challenge to make than regular yogurt. But once you get your first batch done, then the next batches are so much easier. And holy cow, it is so good. It is. We have had so much L. reuteri yogurt at this house. It's ridiculous. So anyway, I started noticing something was happening to my family and to me. I didn't believe it at first until I saw it happen to every single person. There was a happiness, a calmness. You ever get those thoughts where when you get upset about something, they circle in your brain and you just keep going over and over in your brain when you have something that's bothering you? Well, I noticed that all of that went away when I started eating this yogurt, and I didn't even recognize that that's what it was. But I kept finding myself thinking, oh, it'll be okay, instead of thinking about it and stressing about it, because I've had a lot of things going on right now that have been needing my attention. It's kind of been stressful. And all of a sudden, it just calmed down. And then I noticed my daughter, she had a lot less anxiety, and she was hugging her sister all the time. And my son would call me on the phone from work, and he would be singing. And I was like, what is happening to my family? And then I noticed one day my husband was making a jar of sun tea outside, dropped the whole jar, broke it, which would normally upset him. And he came in the house and goes, oh, well, it's not a big deal. And I'm like, wait a minute, something is happening. So then we quit taking it for a little bit, and some of those things came back, and I noticed a difference. Anyway, I didn't believe it, but I believe it now. And I've been talking to other people and some people on my staff. I'm anxious to see what their experiences are. The people that helped make this, they're great people, and they helped develop the product. And they kind of did it. I didn't really know what was happening behind the scenes, but they have been experiencing similar effects. It's been pretty interesting. And I have had a couple emails of people saying they have a lot more or a lot less anxiety, and they're feeling a lot more joyful. Now, Is that the placebo effect? I don't know. I didn't expect it. I didn't believe it. And yet I don't want to stop taking that yogurt because I don't want to lose that feeling. So anyway, that's another thing that we've got going that a lot of people are making. We're still kind of working out some of the kinks with it. I think we've got to figure it out. We've got to help people because the first batch is sometimes when it's getting activated, it kind of is a little bit, takes the second batch to really get it going good. First batch is still eatable and everything, but it kind of separates a little bit. But I think I might have a solution for that. So anyway, long story short, all of these different products, and I do them because, well, I make these products because of the way they make me feel. And I have never in my life felt the way I have felt in the last 3 weeks when we came out with that yogurt. I wanted people to be successful so bad. I was just, that's all I could think about 24/7. And I feel that way mostly I have a lot of empathy already, but I really want you guys to be successful. I only sell things that I really love, that are really are important to me, and things that have made a life change for me. Because I see what's happening in this world of people are just, they've got so much anxiety, a lot of depression, a lot of discouragement, a lot of pent up emotions just from, the last couple of years and the things that we've been to as a world. And I see that, and it affected me. It affected me in a very strong way. And I was more reactive than I usually am. I think it just kind of accumulates, and then you get into the habit of being, frustrated because of all the shutdowns and things that we had to endure. And I really have noticed a difference since I started taking this. And I just thought, what if this helps people? I see young people especially really having struggles with their emotions, and it just breaks my heart. Even my own daughter was that way. She's like 20, and I saw it affect her. And when I saw the change in her, and even she couldn't believe it, I just thought, oh, what a blessing it is to have food change you from the inside out. And guys, I've been doing this 20 years, and that's the main reason I eat these foods, is that they make me feel so good that I just want to share with you, because what if something as simple as food can make a difference in your life? And it can, because happiness starts in the gut. You are 100 trillion microbes, and you don't understand what they're doing because you can't see them. They're super tiny, even if you can't really, they're almost invisible. And you don't know the processes that are going on inside of your body that they're responsible for. And in this day and age, when we've lost so many of the important bacteria that we need in our gut to keep us healthy, we start to experience negative things that happen to us. We aren't able to handle them like we could normally. And I just can't tell you how excited I am about these stupid bacteria that keep me well, that keep showing me new ways that they can improve on their ability to help me. As I get older, it just becomes more important, but it's so much fun for me because I feel so young and so good. But it's mostly because of the foods that I eat, because food is powerful medicine, and your body is a chemical making factory. And for instance, when you make oxytocin in the brain, it opens up the arteries in your blood vessels and in your heart, and floods you with a surge of blood flow to those areas that makes you feel wonderful and fantastic. And it's one of the things you have when you have a baby, that love that you feel for your baby. That's oxytocin is doing that. And it's not just that we have that chemical. We have a million different things going on, chemicals, hormones, things in our bodies that determine not only our happiness factor, but our health, and our emotions and our inflammation in our body, our immune system, how we digest our food. All those things are going on, and you need those 100 trillion microbes to help you do all of them and so many more. So it has somehow become my crazy job, which I never expected in 100 years, to ever think that I would be the one laying in bed at night thinking about bacteria species, but I do. And it's because they made me well. And because they've helped me so much that I want that for you. And I really, really want that now, guys, because I see people struggling so badly. They're afraid, they're worried. But more than anything else, all of these past few years of lockdowns and things have really made us maybe wake up to the fact that, if you have your health, you have everything. And if I can help people in a small way, not only increase their sense of well-being and health, but also increase their sense of happiness and joy, then my life will have meant more to me than I could have ever imagined, because that happens so much every day. It is my heartfelt desire. Every fiber of my being wants to help you see you well, because I know what a difference it can make in your life when you feel good. Because I didn't feel good 20 years ago. It was pretty bad. And now my mom just thinks that someday I'm going to have to retire. And I just can't, guys. I love it so much. I get such a rush out of helping you. There's something about being well that opens up your heart, and all you want to do is give back. It's so much fun to do that, because there is nothing like having a hard experience in your life that takes you down, and then you find the answer for it, and it changes your life so dramatically that all you want to do is help everybody else. And that's what they call, instead of that memory being a bad thing, it becomes wisdom. And then you're thankful for it. And you're grateful that you struggled because you overcame it and found the answers, and then you can turn around and help everybody else. So that is what has happened to me, and I want that for you. And I see it every day in my line of work, helping people, encouraging people, and it is a really strong desire, feels like a life purpose to me, to help you feel well. And so I hope these podcasts mean something to you, or at least help you a little bit or encourage you. And maybe they don't right away, but eventually what I have seen is eventually it just accumulates and you'll want to do something to change your life. And it has changed everything in my life. I can't believe I'm doing this actually for 20 years. It feels like it started yesterday. And I was doing it 10 years before I ever had a business. I didn't do this. Before, I just didn't want to do that. It was just too much work, but I felt better and better. And so I wound up, after people bugged me enough, having a website and writing books and stuff. And what a joy it's been. I didn't even know I liked those things, but that's what happens. Those hidden treasures in our lives get buried when we don't feel good. Once we feel good, they open up and we find that we have gifts that we never knew about. And that's what I wish for you, because the world needs more of what you can give it. We each have special gifts, and we all need the things that you can bring to this world. So anyway, pick the cultured food that is most interesting to you. Pick the ones that you find, compelling to, try. Even go to a grocery store and try them. Get to the health food store, pick out a few cultured foods, try them, see which one you like. They're calling you, because you wouldn't be listening to this podcast if they weren't. And that's kind of how it works. So we will see you next week. Shoot over to my website at culturedfoodlife.com and look at all the free stuff. It says start here on the menu bar. Pick out a cultured food and give it a try and see how you feel, or go to the store and try one. But anyway, if it's interesting to you, give it a try. See what happens. And I promise I'll help you. If you need help, just shoot us an email. And happy fermenting, guys. It can change your whole life. It did mine. Have a good one, guys. We'll see you next week.